It was a cold, unforgiving night in Ohio when the call came in. A frantic voice on the other end of the line gasped for breath, struggling to form the words. "I just saw a woman, she was thrown from a car. She's on the ground, she's not moving." The dispatcher's voice was calm, trained for moments like this, but nothing could prepare them for what they were about to uncover. The road was empty, stretching into darkness, illuminated only by the flickering glow of a single streetlight. The silence was broken by the distant wail of sirens. A patrol car pulled up first, its headlights sweeping across the pavement. And there she was, lying in the middle of the road, her body twisted unnaturally, her face pale under the harsh glare of emergency lights. Officers rushed forward, their radios crackling. The paramedics followed, their footsteps urgent. They checked for signs of life, but the damage had been done. Her clothes were torn, blood pooling beneath her, the cruel evidence of what had taken place just moments before. This was no accident. This was something else entirely. The investigation began immediately. Witnesses reported seeing a dark-colored vehicle speeding away. Tire marks on the asphalt told a story of desperation. A search began for the driver, but authorities already had a name in mind. Because this wasn't just any woman. She had a story. A past. And the man behind the wheel wasn't a stranger. He was the father of her 2 children. Hours earlier, she had been alive, moving through the world like any other day. Maybe she had been running errands, maybe she had been thinking about what to cook for dinner. Maybe she had been smiling, unaware that every moment was leading to this. The final ride. The last time she would ever see the face of the man she once trusted. How did it come to this? What happened in that car? And why did a mother, pregnant with her 3rd child, end up abandoned on a cold stretch of asphalt, with a bullet in her body and no one by her side? The answers to those questions would leave even the most seasoned investigators stunned. Because what they uncovered in the hours that followed would reveal a story of control, obsession, and a decision that could never be undone. This is the case of a woman who should have been safe. A woman who had everything to live for. A woman whose life was stolen in the most brutal way imaginable. Stay with us as we unseal the chilling details of this case. And if you believe stories like this must be told, subscribe now. Because every voice deserves to be heard. Toledo, Ohio, March 3, 2024, 10:45 p.m. Toledo was quiet that night. The streets were mostly empty, save for the occasional car passing by, headlights cutting through the darkness. It was the kind of night where nothing should have happened. Where a mother of 2, expecting her 3rd child, should have been home, safe, tucking her children into bed. But she wasn't. Instead, Jessica Martinez, 29, lay motionless on the cold asphalt of a desolate road just outside the city limits. A woman with a future, a woman who had just sent a desperate text less than 24 hours before, was now fighting for her life, her body broken, her breath slipping away. The man responsible? Daniel Foster, 32. The father of her 2 children. The man she had spent nearly a decade with. The man she had tried to leave. Their love story had started like so many others. They met in the summer of 2013, introduced by mutual friends at a cookout. Jessica had been drawn to Daniel's confidence, his easygoing charm. He made her laugh. Made her feel like she was the most important person in the world. But love can sometimes disguise something else. Something more dangerous. At first, the changes were subtle. Daniel didn't like when she went out without him. He would show up unannounced, his tone light-hearted, asking where she was, who she was with. Then came the possessiveness, little comments that made her second-guess herself. "I just worry about you," he would say. "I don't want anything to happen to you." The first time he raised his voice, they had been together for 2 years. It had been over something small, something she couldn't even remember later. But what she did remember was the way he grabbed her wrist. The way his fingers tightened just enough to make her heart race. By the time their first child was born in 2017, Jessica had already learned to tread lightly. She knew which words would set him off, which silences would make it worse. She thought about leaving then, but Daniel always knew what to say to pull her back. Their second child was born in 2019. By then, the police had been called to their home twice. Both times, Jessica downplayed the situation. It was just an argument, she told officers. It got a little heated, but it's fine now. It wasn't fine. Then, in late 2023, Jessica discovered she was pregnant again. She wanted to believe this time would be different. That Daniel would change. That the weight of another child would make him see things more clearly. But the arguments only got worse. The threats became more direct. On February 28, 2024, 5 days before her murder, Jessica packed her things. She took the kids and moved in with her sister, Maria Vasquez, who had begged her for years to leave. "You don't have to do this alone," Maria had said. Daniel didn't take it well. In the days that followed, the messages flooded in. Apologies. Promises. Then anger. Then desperation. By March 2, he had stopped calling. Stopped texting. And for a moment, Jessica thought maybe, just maybe, she was finally free. Then, on March 3, at 9:30 p.m., her phone rang. It was Daniel. Maria saw her hesitate before answering. "Don't go," she pleaded. "Whatever it is, he can say it over the phone." Jessica shook her head. "I just want to hear what he has to say. I'll be right back." She never came back. By 10:45 p.m., Jessica was lying in the middle of County Road 12, her body thrown from a moving vehicle, a bullet lodged in her abdomen. The lights from the approaching sirens washed over her, but it was too late. The life she had fought so hard to reclaim had been stolen from her. And Daniel Foster was nowhere to be found. In the days following Jessica's murder, the puzzle pieces began to fall into place. Friends and family stepped forward, revealing details that painted a chilling picture of her final days. Maria Vasquez, Jessica's sister, was the first to speak out. She was scared, Maria said, her voice shaking. "I've never seen her like that before. She told me he'd been watching her. That every time she left the house, she felt like he was right there, waiting." Jessica had confided in her closest friends as well. She told them about the relentless text messages. The missed calls that came at all hours. How Daniel had shown up outside her work just 2 days before she was killed, standing in the parking lot, staring at her through the glass windows of the restaurant. The texts, thousands of them, were uncovered by investigators. Some were apologies. Others were filled with anger. And then there were the ones that stood out. The ones that carried a tone far more unsettling. February 29, 2024, 11:14 p.m. "Daniel, you think you can just leave me like that?" Jessica, "Daniel, stop. Daniel, you don't get to decide how this ends." "I do." The last message Jessica sent was on March 3 at 9:41 p.m. Just minutes before she was last seen alive. "Jessica, I'm coming. Don't do anything stupid." She had been on her way to meet him. Alone. Investigators traced her movements that night. A security camera from a gas station on Summit Street captured her car pulling in at 9:48 p.m. She stepped out, looking around nervously before getting back in and driving away. The same camera recorded another vehicle pulling in moments later, a black 2007 Chevy Impala. Daniel Foster's car. By 10:02 p.m., Jessica was seen for the last time. A neighbor's doorbell camera on Willowbrook Drive picked up a brief image, Jessica stepping into the passenger seat of Daniel's car. The door closed. The car pulled away. That was it. Phone records showed Jessica's cell signal moving westward at high speed, following Route 24. Then, at 10:37 p.m., her phone went silent. 7 minutes later, a call came in to Lucas County 911. A driver, who had been heading home from a late shift, reported seeing something horrifying, a body being thrown from a moving vehicle. "I saw a flash," the caller told dispatchers. "At first, I thought maybe it was an animal. Then I saw her. She wasn't moving." Jessica had been shot at close range before being pushed out onto the cold pavement of County Road 12. The bullet tore through her abdomen, just inches from where her unborn child was growing. A nearby home security camera caught the sound of the vehicle speeding away. Tires screeched against the asphalt. Then silence. Daniel Foster had vanished. The hunt for him began immediately. Officers were dispatched to his last known address, a small rental house on Jefferson Avenue, but the home was dark. His phone was off. His social media accounts, previously active, had gone silent. Investigators knew one thing: this wasn't random. It wasn't an accident. Jessica Martinez had been executed. And the man who had once promised to love her was now on the run. The night air was cold, and the roads were nearly empty. Jessica sat in the passenger seat of Daniel Foster's black Chevy Impala, her hands gripping the edge of her seat. The weight of the silence between them was suffocating. The only sound was the hum of the engine and the occasional vibration of her phone. She had ignored every call since she got into the car. Daniel was gripping the wheel, his knuckles white. His jaw was clenched. His breathing was uneven. Jessica knew this was a mistake. She had spent weeks trying to avoid him, but tonight, she had given in. Maybe she thought she could calm him down. Maybe she thought she could reason with him. Her last mistake. At 10:34 p.m., Daniel suddenly pulled the car onto a desolate stretch of County Road 12. No streetlights. No houses. Just the darkness pressing in around them. Jessica's heart pounded. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice sharp with fear. Daniel didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his jacket. Jessica saw the gun. Panic surged through her body. She reached for the door handle. Click. Locked. She turned to him, her breath catching in her throat. "Daniel, don't." The gunshot shattered the silence. The bullet tore through her abdomen. A strangled gasp escaped her lips as she clutched her stomach, her body twisting in pain. The car swerved as Daniel struggled to keep control. Jessica tried to speak, but no words came. Her eyes were wide with shock. Daniel's hands shook. He looked at her, his chest rising and falling in rapid bursts. Then, in one swift motion, he reached across, unbuckled her seatbelt, and shoved her out of the car. Jessica's body hit the cold asphalt with a sickening thud. The impact was violent. Her body tumbled across the pavement like a rag doll, rolling several feet before coming to a lifeless stop. Daniel didn't slow down. His tires screeched against the road as he sped off, disappearing into the night. Minutes later, headlights illuminated the stretch of road where Jessica's body lay. A passing driver caught sight of something on the pavement, a figure sprawled across the highway. He barely had time to register what he was seeing before swerving to avoid running over her. The driver pulled over and fumbled for his phone. His fingers trembled as he dialed 911. 10:44 p.m., the call came in. "There's a body on the road, she's been shot." The dispatcher's voice was calm but urgent. "Is she breathing?" The man's voice shook. I don't know. I think so. She's barely moving." Within minutes, the faint sound of sirens echoed in the distance. 2 paramedics arrived first, stepping out into the cold night air. The scene before them was haunting. Jessica lay motionless, blood pooling beneath her. Her eyes fluttered, barely open. Her lips trembled as she fought for breath. She was alive. But just barely. The crime scene was chaotic, a grim testament to the violence that had unfolded just minutes before. Jessica's body lay twisted on the pavement, her breathing shallow, her pulse weak. The paramedics worked quickly, stabilizing her as best they could before rushing her to Mercy Health Hospital in Toledo, Ohio. Every second mattered. By the time officers from the Lucas County Sheriff's Office arrived, the road was littered with evidence, fragments of clothing, smears of blood, and faint tire marks leading away from the scene. A shell casing glinted under the flashing red and blue lights. Jessica's purse had been thrown from the vehicle as well, lying a few feet away. Inside, officers found her phone, its screen cracked from the impact. Messages still lingered in her inbox, some from friends, asking if she was okay, and one from Daniel, sent just hours before. "Come outside. We need to talk. Don't make me wait." The hunt for Daniel Foster had begun. At 11:10 p.m., less than 40 minutes after the attack, officers received a critical tip. A black Chevy Impala matching the description of Daniel's car had been found abandoned behind an old gas station off Route 20. The driver's side door was still open, the engine turned off, but the key left in the ignition. Inside the car, investigators found the evidence they needed. Blood splatters on the passenger seat, confirming that Jessica had been shot inside the vehicle. A used shell casing wedged between the seat and the center console. And, most chilling of all, a single set of footprints leading away from the car into the dense wooded area behind the station. Daniel was on the run. Detectives worked through the night, combing through surveillance footage from nearby businesses, hoping to track his movements. At 12:27 a.m., grainy footage from a liquor store camera showed him walking alone, his jacket zipped high to conceal bloodstains. He had been headed toward a rundown motel just outside the city limits. By 4 a.m., a team of officers surrounded the motel, their weapons drawn. Inside room 108, Daniel was sitting on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. The television was on, the volume low. News reports of the attack flashed across the screen. He had been watching his own crime unfold in real time. When officers burst through the door, Daniel didn't resist. His first words. "Is she dead?" At the station, the interrogation began. Detectives pressed him for answers. "Why did you shoot her?" Daniel shook his head, his fingers gripping the edge of the table. "It was an accident. I didn't mean to." But the evidence told a different story. A search of his phone revealed chilling internet searches from the days leading up to the attack. Can you survive a gunshot to the stomach? How fast do police track phone records? What's the best way to disappear after a crime? Daniel Foster had planned this. And he had almost gotten away with it. The trial of Daniel Foster gripped the entire state of Ohio, a case so brutal, so unforgivable, that the courtroom was packed every single day. Cameras lined the halls of the Lucas County Courthouse, reporters eager to capture every chilling detail. The weight of justice hung heavy in the air. On one side, the prosecution painted a damning picture. Daniel was a violent man, a controlling partner who refused to let Jessica go, even after she made it clear that their relationship was over. The evidence was undeniable, the text messages, the chilling internet searches, and the surveillance footage of him fleeing the scene after abandoning his car. The lead prosecutor, Michael Garvey, didn't mince words. This was not an accident. This was not a crime of passion. This was a calculated execution of a woman who had the audacity to leave him. Then came the most haunting moment, the final 911 call played in court. "She's been shot. Oh my God, she fell out of the car. Someone help her." Jessica's mother sobbed openly, clutching the hands of her daughter's two young children, who sat in the front row. They would never see their mother again. The defense, led by attorney Samuel Brantley, had a different story to tell. "Ladies and gentlemen, my client is guilty of many things. He was angry, jealous, and heartbroken. But he did not premeditate this murder. They argued that Jessica had grabbed the gun during an argument, and in the struggle, it went off. The defense painted Daniel as a broken man, a father who had lost control in a heated moment but never intended to kill. To drive this point home, Daniel himself took the stand. Tears streamed down his face as he spoke. "I loved her. I swear to you, I didn't mean to hurt her. We were arguing, and she was trying to leave, and then it just happened." His voice broke, his hands trembling. The jury watched. The courtroom sat in silence. But when the prosecution cross-examined him, their approach was ruthless. "Mr. Foster, if this was an accident, why did you throw her out of the car? Why did you flee the scene and attempt to disappear instead of calling 911? Daniel froze. The silence was deafening. Then he lowered his head. The moment of reckoning had arrived. After just 3 hours of deliberation, the jury returned to the courtroom. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Daniel Foster, guilty of first-degree murder." The gasps in the courtroom were audible. Jessica's mother collapsed into tears, her body shaking. Daniel's face went pale, his hands trembling as the judge read the sentencing. "You showed no remorse. You had the chance to save her, to stop. Instead, you made sure she would never return to her family. I hereby sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole." Daniel hung his head, his life over in an instant. As he was led away, Jessica's sister stood and spoke one last time. "You stole her life. You stole her future. And you stole the mother of those 2 babies sitting right there. I hope you never know a moment of peace again." The judge's gavel slammed down. The case was closed. Jessica's 2 young children would grow up without their mother, raised by their grandmother. Her unborn child, a baby girl, never got the chance to take her first breath. A candlelight vigil was held outside the courthouse. Hundreds gathered, holding photos of Jessica, chanting her name, demanding justice for all women trapped in abusive relationships. Her best friend spoke through tears. She tried to leave. She did everything right. And he still took her life. How many more women have to die before something changes? The tragedy didn't end with Jessica's death. It sparked a larger conversation about domestic violence, about how the system fails women who seek help, about how restraining orders are nothing more than pieces of paper in the face of real danger. In the wake of her murder, Ohio lawmakers proposed Jessica's Law, a bill designed to increase protections for domestic violence victims, making it harder for abusers to slip through the cracks. Her story was far from over. Because Jessica's name would not be forgotten. Because this was not just a tragedy, it was a warning. How many more cries for help would go unanswered? Jessica Martin should be here today. She should be tucking her children into bed, preparing for the birth of her 3rd child, and looking forward to a future free from the grip of an abusive partner. Instead, her life was violently stolen, her story reduced to court documents, headlines, and a lingering question: could she have been saved? Her case is a harrowing reminder of how quickly love can turn lethal. It shows us the devastating consequences of ignoring the warning signs, of a system that often fails those who need it most. How many more women will die before something changes? What do you think? Did Daniel Foster's sentencing bring true justice? Or do you believe something more could have been done to protect Jessica before it was too late? Could the system have intervened earlier, saving her and her unborn child? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If this case moved you, if Jessica's story needs to be heard, then make sure you stay with us for more true crime cases that demand justice. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that the world needs to hear.